Hello, everyone, and welcome to the finals of the StarCityGames.com Minneapolis Open weekend. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, we are here in the booth. Nick Miller down there in the feature match area as we prepare to watch Jonathan Rosum, your number 3 overall seed, playing Jeskai Control, against Sam Cocchiarella playing Humans, number 5 overall seed. Rosum, very experienced with both Jeskai and Humans, a very experienced modern player in general. He'll start things off with a Scalding Tarn. For Sam, it'll be a Noble Hierarch off of a Cavern of Souls naming Human. John will quickly sacrifice that Scalding Tar and fall down to 19. Let's make it just 19 as this team events will enter the battlefield tapped. No Lightning Bolt to kill Noble Hierarch, and perhaps Rosum doesn't even care about the 0-1. We will find out soon enough.
Well, I think Rosum does have a Lightning Bolt, but if he doesn't have anything taxing his mana next turn, might as well save himself the 2.
Back to Rosum we will go for the second turn of the game. Picked up a copy of Field of Ruin, also has a Lightning Helix. And you can see there, he'll play a Flooded Strand. We will go back over to Sam. Interesting situation here, electing not to kill the Noble Hierarch.
Well, if you have a lot of removal, and then I think the logic becomes just strand him with the ineffectual creatures and save your removal for the stuff that actually matters.
Well, there's a champion of the parish. I would say that one does matter, and that will resolve here.
The Noble Hierarch only matters if you're concerned about Cocchiarella getting out ahead of schedule, and if you have a lot of removal, you don't really care.
There's a Thalia Guardian of Thraben. Rosum will sacrifice that Flooded Strand. He will get himself a Plains, and I think we may see a Lightning Bolt here in just a moment. Could be Lightning Helix as well.
Yeah, I think you Lightning Helix the champion of the parish, and then Lightning Bolt the Thalia next turn.
Rosum will draw. Sacred Foundry the draw here for John. He'll play a Flooded Strand, simply pass the turn back. Does have access to Logic Knot in this instance, does Rosum. I laugh a little about the Noble Hierarch not being bolted simply because Jonathan Rosum and Rosmir have had a small feud about bolting the bird, as they like to say, or leaving it alive. Ross is of the camp of you just kill that thing all the time, where Rosum clearly is not. I don't think it's the answer can be situation dependent.
Right. I think the answer is it depends.
Yes.
So that sounds like just a profoundly stupid argument to be having. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah,
it just sounds like you would look at your hand and then assess based on a multitude of factors.
You may.
What to do.
Well, there is a Logic Knot, and you see Rosum's hand. It is full of lands right now.
The Logic Knot here not exactly valuable anyway in the face of the Cavern of Souls. Rosum behind here, but drawing to a lot of big cards. Snapcaster Mage, Supreme Verdict at the top of the list.
We will head back over to Rosum now, who does have a Field of Ruin in hand, among other things. Picked up another land, did John. That is not ideal. We'll see if he maybe wants to go to the Field of Ruin or if he would like to maybe try to represent something like a Cryptic Command. He will play the Field of Ruin, perhaps with the goal of killing that Cavern of Souls at some stage this turn.
I don't think there's a whole lot of value to be gained by repping Cryptic Command in this spot because there's a cavern on the other side of the battlefield. So you just do whatever the most efficient thing is.
This will be a Mantis Rider. That'll grow the champion of the parish. And now here is an attack for 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's make it 7 flat. Will Rosum use the Field of Ruin to kill the cavern? He will. Cocchiarella, I believe, does have a Plains in his deck to search for. Most decks play 1 Plains, and the 1 Plains here for Humans is at the ready. Rosum will search up a basic island. But Rosum is in some trouble here. He really does need to find a copy of Supreme Verdict or Cryptic Command to buy some time.
Snapcaster Mage would play well here, too.
Yeah.
So he's got some big draws, but he needs to find them pretty soon. He's going to be dead in 2 turns the way things are currently shaped up, and a lot of his draws are not super effective.
Rosum will draw a card. Let's take a look and see what he found. Didn't get a great look at it. It was a copy of Cryptic Command. That can buy him some time here. As he'll play a Sulphur Falls. And he will pass the turn back over to Cocchiarella. Cocchiarella will draw a card. Picked up a copy of Seachrome Coast. Cocchiarella's hand right now has a Reflector Mage, Noble Hierarch, and a Champion of the Parish along with that land. That land is now on the battlefield. Here comes the champion. Champion will resolve. That'll grow the other champion. Will Cocchiarella play the Noble Hierarch now? He will. So that'll grow both champions.
And if Rosum's not fighting over any of this stuff, I would imagine his plan here is to tap the team, draw a card, and try to find a Snapcaster Mage to repeat, buy enough time, and hopefully draw a Supreme Verdict.
Well, here is Cryptic Command. Tap and draw a card. 2 Supreme Verdicts in Rosum's main deck here this weekend. Picked up a copy of Electrolyze, which is not great at the moment. He'll draw another card. Looks like he found maybe another land. Again, remember, he does have Snapcaster Mage. That can help him recast Supreme Verdict from the grave, or excuse me, Cryptic Command from the graveyard. Let's see what this is going to be. It'll be a Search for Iskanta. And that'll be a Sacred Foundry tapped. This is going to be tough here for John.
Yeah, even with Electrolyze on a threat here, he's at risk of being killed.
Yeah, if Thalia's Lieutenant were to show up right now, that would be bad news here.
Thalia's Lieutenant makes it trivial. If that resolves, we're all done here. And at this point, Rosum's at risk, I think, of being killed by just any old human, though.
Well, keep in mind, Electrolyze can kill that champion of the parish. That's a 2/2.
Yep.
So right now you're looking at just on the battlefield 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points of damage. Now Reflector Mage will grow a champion to make it 10. And here is Electrolyze on that champion of the parish. So, Electrolyze is going to resolve. Rosum will draw a card. That champion will grow a little bit. So right now we're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Restoration Angel is actually the draw. So here is an attack for 10.
Restoration Angel is a nice card to have left over here. It gives Sam some shot of closing out the game, even if Rosum finds a Supreme Verdict.
Rosum is going to keep that card on top with Search for Iskanta and draw a card. What did John find is the question.
Cryptic, Snapcaster, Supreme Verdict seem like the cards you would leave on top here.
I have to imagine that's what's necessary. It looks like he may have found Cryptic, but he is already reaching for mana. So he's going to look at the top couple of cards right now. Path to Exile among those cards here for John. Yeah, he did find a Cryptic.
Any individual piece of spot removal doesn't help Rosum too much in this spot. It helps insofar as if he can find a Supreme Verdict, then he can win the battle over the leftovers, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's inclined to really use the Path to Exile here to fend off one attacker because just everything's lethal right now.
There is an island there for Rosum, and let him represent Cryptic Command once again. Sam will draw a card. Keep in mind, Restoration Angel in hand. That's a threat he can play on the end step. But Rosum has come somewhat prepared for that one with that Path to Exile. This is going to be a champion of the parish. That will trigger the other champion.
I'm not a huge fan of playing the champion of the parish here. It's just what you have on the table is lethal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get hit by a sweeper, it's really important to have whatever left over. Any of your leftovers are really valuable. It's really important.
I think he's actually dead, right? Because now you float, you Restoration Angel your Mantis Rider, and you kill him.
Yep, there you go.
Mantis Rider actually ends up looking very good. So, Sam Cocchiarella is going to win game number 1 here over Jonathan Ross and Humans doing Humans things. Going to win game number 1 against Jeskai Control.
And we were told this is Sam's first tournament with the deck in paper. May not be that aware of all the mechanics and nuances with the rules. Navigated that game very well and knew that he could win the game there with Restoration Angel on the Mantis Rider.
We will prepare for game number 2. This could be one heck of an underdog story as Jonathan Ross will be on the play. We'll watch more just a bit. back and ready to watch game number 2 here between Jonathan Rosum and Sam Cocchiarella, Jeskai Control and Humans. Sam able to steal game number 1, so we will start with Rosum. And his sideboard, 2 Celestial Purge, 2 Dispel, 2 Ruined Halo, 2 Vendilion Click, a Ceremonious Rejection, a Disdainful Stroke, an Engineered Explosive, and Elspeth Sun's Champion. Negate, tell me your reinforcements, and that Wear Tear.
So I really like the Engineered Explosives and the 2 copies of Vendilion Click. Past that, you could maybe talk me into Ruined Halo. You can, maybe talk me into Celestial Purge as well as a way to fight over some of these threats. But not a whole lot to bring in. A lot of his work's being done in game 1.
Other side of things here for Sam, we mentioned at the top, not a lot of cards from the sideboard. 2 Auric Champion, 2 Gutshot, 2 Static Caster, 2 Kataki War's Wage, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Sin Collector, a Mirren Crusader, a Selfless Spirit, and Dismember.
I suppose the 2 copies of Sin Collector and the Mirren Crusader I would bring in, just because Reflector Mage is so poor.
Yeah, I don't mind a Selfless Spirit.
Yeah, the Selfless Spirit's okay. Yep. That's a 4 for 4 right there.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be good enough there for Sam. So those are the options there for both players, and game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. It's our last time to talk to you about the weekly sale here, Patrick, before we do close down shop here in Minneapolis. And there's not a lot of time left to save on some, I believe, Eternal singles. But you can tell them where to go.
Yeah, you can over to go.scgMINN.com/weekly sale. Tomorrow, Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, there'll be a new sale, new category. So make sure to be heading back to the website tomorrow, see what it is. For a limited time remaining, you can get up to 20% off select Eternal singles again over at go.scgMINN.com/weekly sale.
Getting ready here for game number 2. Rosum going to send it back right away. Not happy with what he saw.
Yeah, I think I saw 1 land, and it was just Sacred Foundry. So I do not think it matters what the other 6 cards are.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you. See if Sam's going to keep his 7. See if Rosum can do a little bit better here. Looks like he has torn sleeve, so he'll change it up. And then we watch game 2. Tough road to hoe here for Rosum. Humans demonstrating just how good of a deck it can be. This could be the second time that we do watch it take care of Jeskai Control here this week, and Jeskai players love to play this matchup, and I do think it's favorable, but Humans demonstrating that it can actually get the job done here a little bit.
And we watched Dylan Hand do the same thing to Jim Davis earlier in this tournament too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Thalias, the Freebooters, the Sin Collectors, there's a base that is challenging for the deck. If your curve is just a bunch of creatures attacking, I think it's not that hard for Jeskai Control to beat that. But if you get your Disruption backed up with some pressure, and the Jeskai Control deck has some cumbersome cards in it. It's got 4s and 5s that, if you draw early on in the game, can be really prohibitive for your development.
You take a look at Rosum's hand here. It looks like he's missing red mana as a Cavern of Souls into a Noble Hierarch is where Sam will start things here once again. This will be a Serum Visions. Rosum will draw. He'll scry 2. He quickly scried his first 2 cards to the bottom. Celestial Purge in hand now as well. But John looks like he is without red mana. There's like a couple copies of Lightning Helix. Some other things as he does play a Plains, and now he will pass the turn back over to Sam. Sam will draw.
Yeah, it looks like he put at least 1 pass to the bottom, and pass is a really solid card, but if his hand needs red mana to be unlocked, you just got to send everything that's not red mana to the bottom.
Yep. There's Horizon Canopy. Looks like Sam will take 1 from the Canopy. And that'll be a Champion of the Parish. Going to get this set up. The follow-up, maybe a Thalia? It will be a Thalia.
Really strong opening here.
Champion will grow, and we head back over to Rosum. Rosum really needs to find a red source of mana. He did in Scalding Tarn. Maybe, yep, it is a Scalding Tarn, not a Steam event, so here is the Tarn.
But it looks like he's absent some of his cards to pull ahead right now. He's got a Bolt. He's got a Helix. But we're not looking at a Sweeper. We're not looking at a Azcanta. We're not looking at a Snapcaster Mage. Mm-hmm. And it is tough sledding from my perspective is from the Jeskai side. You do eventually need to find one of the cards that matter to pull ahead. And we saw that kind of in the first game where Rosum had some good tools, some good removal spells, but he never pulled ahead with something like Supreme Verdict. And if you don't do that, you're going to be taking chip shots the whole game and get the game closed out before you can really turn the corner.
We're also going to take the opportunity there to Lightning Helix Champion of the Parish before it gets out of control. This will be a Sin Collector. Trigger, take a look at Rosum's hand. Rosum will show you a Lightning Bolt, a Celestial Purge to secure the waist, and an island.
I'm guessing here that the card is Lightning Bolt, unless that Purge is randomly high value against Cocchiarella's follow-up.
Yeah, Cocchiarella does have a copy of Mantis Rider in hand, so Purge would be able to take care of that, but you could say the same thing about Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt seems like it's probably the best of the bunch, and that's the one that will be exiled here by the Sin Collector. In for 3, 2 plus the Exalted Trigger is going to bring Rosum down to 17. We'll head back over to John. John will draw.
Check over those leftovers here for Cocchiarella as well. At least a freebooter in hand.
Appears to be a pretty good hand here for Sam. Neutralize is a really good draw.
Yeah, that is huge. That's the start of the pulling ahead. And you would really like to line up the Sin Collector against the Secure the Waste.
Mm-hmm.
Less so against the Thalia because of First Strike.
Phantasmal Image the draw here for Sam.
Image is great.
Yep.
Definitely interested in copying that Sin Collector.
Man, that was a huge, huge draw. Now, the problem with Image, of course, is that you can't cast it right now. Cavern of Souls, of course, naming humans, so no access to blue mana. So we could see Freebooter come down. We could see Thalia's Lieutenant come down, as Sam is going to take 1 from that Horizon Canopy. Here will be a Freebooter. Freebooter will show you hand a path to exile, Celestial Purge, and secure the waste. So Freebooter's effect appears to only be temporary.
That's okay. You can take the Purge with Cocchiarella tight on mana right now. Getting any of your threats path is a pretty big win.
Be curious to see what Sam does want to take here. He'll go with the Purge.
Yeah, I like taking the Purge.
Sin Collector is free to attack, so we'll come in for 2. Ross, I'm going to fall down to 16. Let's go back over to John now. John will draw a card. He'll play a Glacial Fortress, simply pass the turn back. We go back over to Cocchiarella. Cocchiarella picks up a Horizon Canopy, which is an okay draw. One thing it does not enable is Mantis Rider this turn. It also does not enable Phantasmal Image.
Yep.
Looks like Sam is going to take 1. This will be a Noble Hierarch. The follow-up is going to probably be the Lieutenant. And it is. That will trigger. The creatures will grow bigger. And we'll see how Sam would like to attack, and he will come with both. This is a good time for Secure. Do a little bit of trading here.
Yeah, I wondered there if Sam was going to just attack with the Freebooter and get the Exalted Trigger. But I think the fact that he knows the other card in Rosum's hand is Path makes that line not great.
For Rosum, he will draw a card. And John. Ooh. EE is nice.
That's a big draw.
That'll be for 2. And it looks like Rosum may wait before using it, as he's got some life to work with. Phantasmal Image to draw again. Now, Phantasmal Image is castable now because of Noble Hierarch, providing a little bit of blue mana. We are going to see a Mantis Rider, it appears, as Cocchiarella will take 1. But Rosum does have an answer to that with the Path to Exile in hand.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're hitting the point where these players are going to be on empty, with the exception of the Phantasmal Image in Cocchiarella's hand, but there won't be any high-value targets to copy, most likely. The E is going to take care of the 2s. You assume the Path is going to take care of the Mantis Rider, and then you're looking at Noble Hierarch as your only target to copy. Now, Cocchiarella is drawing to a lot of creatures to make the Phantasmal Image a lot better.
I actually kind of like Rosum's play here of not pathing. because Purge doesn't kill a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
where Path kills everything.
You got to line that one up the right way.
Yep. Oh, now Rosum says, let's turn the corner. Let's start to deal you some damage, especially because you got 2 canopies out there that are starting to hurt you. I like Rosum willing to turn the corner. This will be a Lightning Helix there. That'll allow him to cut the mana a little bit, stop the blue mana from Mantis Rider, and a few other things. More importantly, Phantasmal Image now no longer castable. So now we go back over to Sam. Freebooter is the draw. Freebooter, fine draw in this spot.
It's castable.
It is castable.
It's a 1/2 against 1/1. So.
So here is Freebooter. We might get in response the Path to Exile, but he'll just let him have it. Now, I am curious if that's the best line simply because now you can no longer attack, but Rosum has so many rule spells in his deck.
14 to 11, I think it's way too aggressive here to Path. I like Rosum just saying, listen, I got a lot of cards that can handle this thing. I'm at 14. I don't need to trade off, negative from a value perspective here just because it's a card in my hand and I'm about to get freebooted.
Oh, Colonnade's not a bad draw, that's for sure. Doesn't do anything right away, but we will head back over to Sam, who will draw a card. Again, 2 Phantasmal Images in hand, picked up a copy of Unclaimed Territory. Now, as you mentioned, Patrick, not a lot of great stuff to copy right now.
Still not a bad draw insofar as something that you can name Illusion with and enable the Phantasmal Images down the line. I think you want to start this turn off by just breaking open your Horizon Canopy and see if you get any help.
Well, it looks like Rosum is going to very quickly block Athalia, take 1, fall down to 12. So he's going to go defensive mode here for a little bit. Canopy, draw a card. I would have preferred to see this before attacks, much like you, in case something like Athalia's Lieutenant shows up. But it's just another copy of Unclaimed Territory, so no real harm done at this stage, as Rosum cannot wait to untap that Celestial Colonnade. Territory will name Illusion here, not Human. A bit of a giveaway, as Sam will pass the turn back over to John. John's starting to flood out a little bit here, but when you are flooding, it is always nice to have a creature land on the battlefield, and John does have one of them. I am curious if John wants to fire up with that Colonnade, because he can fire up with Colonnade and that token and say, you're at 4.
I think I would have preferred to see okay. I was going to say from Cocchiarella's side, I think I would have preferred to see a Phantasmal Image last turn on the freebooter, just because if Rosum decides to dial up attackers there, you're falling to 4, and now the Colonnade has you in the Abyss, and it's, you're going to be jammed up on mana. You're going to be activating Horizon Canopy. You only had the 1 blue source of mana anyway for your Phantasmal Image. Looks like Rosum decided to be a little bit more defensive this turn, but if Rosum had decided to dial up the Colonnade and knock Cocchiarella down to 4, I think it would be problematic that he didn't have an extra card in play.
Curious to see if John wants to dial up the Colonnade now, and he's already reaching for mana, so this leads me to believe the answer may be yes. Though he is tapping 4 mana, let's make it 5. Here is the Colonnade. He also has a copy of Path to Exile in hand, and does John. That was his draw for the turn. One thing I've been impressed with watching Rosum play this deck, he knows when to get aggressive and try to get the game over with and shifting gears back and forth. He'll play a Flooded Strand, last card in hand is Path, and we'll head back over to Sam. Sam is going to cash in his 3rd Horizon Canopy of the game, pick up a copy of Ancient Ziggurat. Starting to flood a little bit now as he picks up another copy of Phantasmal Image, normally a high ceiling card. Looked pretty bad this game.
Yeah. I think it's time to get in with the Thalia here.
Here comes Thalia. And here comes Freebooter. John doesn't have to block with that token. He's got some life to work with.
And you might as well present lethal.
Yeah, and now he can do exactly that. Say Path to Exile this in response, I believe. Yeah, he's Path to Exiling the Freebooter in response to the Image, which means Image needs to copy either a token or a Thalia, which means that he'll be either down a Thalia or have a crappy token.
Yeah, Rosum sets up lethal for the next turn regardless. And to get back to the Image play on anything a couple turns ago, it looks like Cocchiarella is going to die with 3 images in hand. So I think he was in a spot where even if it didn't look good, he just had to cast something that one turn.
Rosum will draw. He's able to fire up here with that Colonnade once again. And he will. And before blockers, he will cast Path to Exile. That will take care of the only blocker that Sam has available, and he will take 5 points of damage. So Jonathan Rosum will tie things up here against Sam Cocchiarella. It is fitting as we get ready for a third and final game here between the two best decks in Modern, it appears, between Jeskai Control and Humans. Rosum will take a break. So will we. See you back here for G3 in just a bit. As someone who has played a lot of aggressive decks, you and I, on the play game 3 for it all, that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
It's a control deck.
Yeah, this is what you sign up for.
Yeah.
This is my mentality is typically there's no way that I lose game 1. And are they really going to draw a bunch of sideboard cards twice?
That's the question.
They often do, but just saying this is my thought process.
Yeah. That's that third and final game. If you're an aggressive player, and this deck certainly is aggressive as Humans, your hope is I'm on the play. Maybe they have to mulligan once, who knows? But I want to be I'm an aggressive deck. I want to be on the play game 3 and let the cards fall as they may. It's the best situation you can be in.
Yeah.
And that's where Sam sits right now. Again, Sam, as we found out before we started our finals, his friends came over and told us, first time playing Humans in a paper tournament. You know, he's been a Merfolk player for years. Merfolk not particularly well positioned right now in Modern. Humans a much better deck than Merfolk, so we see him waiting patiently, shuffling his deck, getting ready for his third and final game as Rosum is jogging his way back to the table for his final game of the tournament as well. It's been a pretty good finals thus far. Rosum able to make a pretty nice comeback there on a mulligan where a hand looked a little bit sketchy.
Well, he was very aggressive in scrying everything to the bottom that was not a red source of mana.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he hit that Scalding Tarn on the third turn just in the nick of time. I mean, even if he's one turn off there, I think that's probably too much to come back from.
Well, John will take a look maybe at his sideboard one final time to make sure he's happy with his configuration. Sam looks like he's happy with his. Nervous energy there in the feature match area. You can certainly tell. For Rosum, feels like a tournament. He's dominated the entire time. He should almost in a weird way win. You know, he's dominated from front to back. He's picked a great deck to play for the weekend. And he's in a favorable matchup in the finals, but that's why they play the games. And don't just award the trophies beforehand. He lost game 1, which is pretty good matchup for him. Sam doesn't have a lot to bring to the table in the sideboard games. That may end up costing him. Who knows? We got one game to find out.
Mm-hmm. Rosum got a lot out of one of his sideboard cards here. The Engineered Explosives was a big deal.
Yeah, and John brings quite a few good ones to the table. That's the nice thing here for John. You know, he's got the Engineered Explosives that showed up. Elspeth is a great way to close out the game. You saw him bring in at least one Purge, potentially 2. Purge will take care of Sin Collector, Mantis Rider, and Kitesail Freebooter. Primarily, it may, in the off chance, take care of a Keswick Malcontents. That's a thing that can happen. Rune Halo might be in the deck as well, naming something that Sam draws multiple of, or it's something that John would like to play around preemptively, like naming Mantis Rider.
And Rosum had also, I also caught a glimpse, I think, at the end of the second game there that he had brought in the timely reinforcements as well. And it's not like reinforcements does a great job at blocking. Humans goes pretty large, but if the Humans deck is respecting the possibility of sweepers and making more incremental progress on the battlefield, timely reinforcement can easily add up to 2 turns. And when a lot of the games come down to what can Rosum basically just cantrip and fend off attacks for long enough to get to Supreme Vert or some other sweeper, even just 2 turns of delay could be worth the card.
On Sam's side of things, he doesn't have a ton of sideboard in, as you mentioned when we did a breakdown after game number 1. Sin Collector, really about it. Probably Selfless Spirit, too, because he knows his opponent has access to Supreme Verdicts, plural. Mirran Crusader is merely okay. It's just another threat that can die. But cards like Kataki, Gutshot, Staticaster, Reclamation Sage, not for this matchup, where we've seen other players, like Dylan Hand earlier this weekend, have 3 copies of Direfleet Daredevil, 3 Sin Collectors, and even a little bit more to bring in against Jeskai.
Yeah, well, Sam's just metagaming for different matchups here. Yeah, he's got a lot of anti-creature measures. And if you don't have the spell stuff, you have the creature stuff. And, you know, I'm sure Sam has gotten to the finals in part because the anti-creature stuff has been so good for him in the sideboard this weekend. But now you've got to try to get through this matchup here in the finals with only the 2 copies of Sin Collector as a positive add. There's some other cards in the sideboard that I believe are better than Reflector Mage, but we're not talking about a huge upgrade. Mirran Crusader or Dismember, like, okay, better than Reflector Mage, but we're not talking about something that's really swinging the matchup.
The biggest thing I will question after this tournament now, because we're seeing some consistency here on the SCG Tour with regards to Modern. We've got an Invitational to prepare for in just 2 weeks. That'll be our main event at SCGCon. Of course, we'll be covering Vintage and No Ban List Modern and a whole bunch more, but our eyes will be on that Invitational primarily, and half of that tournament is Modern. With that in mind, you take a look at this weekend. Whoever wins this tournament, congratulations to them. But both these decks will certainly be on the radar for all of our players getting ready. And I'm curious to see if players will adapt and move towards Mardu Pyromancer too.
Well, SCG Con's a totally different animal. I think for the Opens, you have a lot of players who just show up and they play what they own. I think the stakes are different at something like an Invitational. And you're going to see a lot of the best players in the United States really metagaming, largely based on the results of these last 2 tournaments.
Well, it looks like Rosum is going to send that hand back. Well, Cocchiarella looks like he may be keeping. Rosum had a successful mulligan last time. We'll see if he can do it again this time. Well, Sam taking a long look at his hand. One thing we have not seen from Sam yet in this match, Ether Vial.
Yes. He's had, I believe, turn 1 Hierarch in both games. And it's nice to have the extra mana, but it's nothing compared to Aether Vial. And hopefully, from Sam's perspective, he can finally have that opening.
Rosum will be looking at 6 cards here momentarily. For the youngster from Spencer, Mass, looking to keep that 6, maybe scry to the top, find a good hand to interact with Sam. He has so many interaction tools in this matchup, especially in game number 1, but he even lines things up pretty well after sideboard. Oh boy. The body language doctor is here.
I do not believe he is slow rolling.
I don't think he's the type. The 6 he peeled off, he does not look particularly thrilled with. He will keep and he will scry. Where will that card go? Maybe an even tougher decision than the hand he's keeping. That card will go to the bottom.
Here's the thing: your bad 6 card hands you always every card you scry to the bottom.
Sure.
That's not good. That doesn't help.
Noble Hierarch is where we will start again. Rosum going to very quickly cast a Serum Visions.
It looks like he kept a 1-lander.
Okay.
And his first draw step is to Fairy.
Ugh.
Which is...
It'll be a Steam Vents. That'll allow him to cast Lightning Bolt. All right. Serum Vision, Scry 2. Engineer Explosive, Celestial Purge among those cards. Those might be headed to the bottom.
Yeah, we'll see here if he peeled off land number 2 off the Vision.
Ooh. One on top, one on bottom.
If that's the case, then he must have drawn land number 2. Yeah, it looks like a Glacial Fortress was the draw.
All right. This is well, we're going to find out what he kept right now. Glacial Fortress to Fairy. Secure the Wastes. Electrolyze. Snapcaster. Ooh, that's an expensive hand. Snapcaster Mage and Cryptic Command. He is relying heavily on that Electrolyze.
Yeah, and I'd be shocked if Sam took anything other than the Electrolyze.
Keep in mind, Rosum kept the top card. He kept the card on top, and that was a split where there were 2 spells.
Yeah, I can be talked into... I suppose if you have Snapcaster Mage in hand, I could be talked into keeping something like Path, because if you miss your 3rd land drop, you have something to defend yourself with, and if you do make your 3rd land drop, then you have something to pair with the Snapcaster Mage.
Okay.
So if he scryed a non-land to the top, I have to... the only cards that really make sense to me are Path to Exile or Lightning Bolt, because it has to be something where make your land drop or miss, you don't really mind drawing it.
Well, we head back over to Rosum now. He'll draw a card. He'll play the Glacial Fortress, pass the turn back. Looks like Celestial Purge is the card that he kept.
See, Celestial Purge feels like below the bar to me as a card to leave on top here. There's no guarantee it lines up the right way, and there's no guarantee that it's much harder to get to a position where you're using it with Snapcaster Mage.
Horizon Canopy will be the play. For Sam now, he'll play a Lieutenant. That will make the creatures in the battlefield a little bit larger here. Noble Hierarch and Sin Collector getting a counter. And it might be time for another Lieutenant here, folks. Yes, it will be. So, Sam's battlefield is expanding, and it is also growing. He's going wide and large, something Humans is very good at doing. Your attack will be with Sin Collector. That will likely get purged here in just a moment, and it will, so that'll be exiled. Purge does line up appropriately here for John. Draw step of the tournament. Lightning Helix. Not bad. Got to do it now. That'll take care of that. That'll bring him back up to 20.
Yeah, I guess Rosum's hope to bridge here from this point is land number 3 into Snapcaster Serum Vision, into land number 4 to Cryptic, and now we're drawing to Supreme Verdict. We can get to that stage.
Well, you better hope land number 3 isn't Celestial Colonnade. I will say that, as here comes Sin Collector. Trigger here for the Thalia's Lieutenant. The hand, Cryptic Command, Snapcaster Mage, to Fairy, and Secure the Waste.
So I just take Cryptic Commands out of these hands because the shape of this game is going to be, assuming if Rosum makes his land drops and the game is actually competitive, it's just going to come down to, can he spin his tires for long enough and cantrip into a sweeper? So all other things being equal, Cryptic Command and Secure the Waste each equally defend him about as well, but one of those things facilitates finding Supreme Verdict a lot better than the other.
There's Lightning Helix. Take care of Thalia's Lieutenant.
I understand taking the Secure the Waste insofar as it's something he can do for 3 mana or even 2 mana, and the Cryptic Command requires 4. But if Rosum's going to pull himself out of this spot anyway, it's going to require running land drops. So once we're in that position, if he casts a Secure the Waste for 2, you're probably overpowering him.
Yep.
That's not likely to contribute to Cocchiarella losing the game. But if he goes land number 3 to land number 4, then the Cryptic Command is so much more threatening than the Secure the Waste.
Well, Sam's in an interesting spot right now. His hand, there are 2 cards in there he does not like. Those are the 2 vials he's found. There is 1 card in there that he's probably pretty happy with, and that's the Phantasmal Image that can copy Sin Collector. However, this is not a dominating presence here for Sam.
No, his position's good. Rosum needs to get very fortunate from here. And the problem from Rosum's position now is even land number 3 doesn't necessarily lead very far, but Rosum's at 19. Cocchiarella doesn't have all the pressure in the world on the battlefield right now. There's a lot of time for Rosum to draw out.
Cryptic Man will bite the dust. Snapcaster and Teferi the reveals. Here's an attack for 4. Looks like Sam will play one of these vials and simply pass the turn back. So we head back over to Rosum. Does he find land number 3? He finds Supreme Verdict number 1. Back over to Sam we go. Vial going to go up to 1. He'll draw a card. Mantis Rider is going to accelerate things in a big way.
That's the draw right there. Needed a little something to speed this clock up. Now even Rosum finding 2 lands in a row may not be fast enough. On top of that, keep in mind that Cocchiarella has a Horizon Canopy among his lands. So he's got an opportunity to gas up next turn.
There's a block. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Rosum going to fall down to 9. Excuse me, down to 8. He found a land, but I don't think that land's going to matter because that's a fetch land, folks. And that fetch land means that he can't go anywhere. Sam Cocchiarella is going to win this match here over Jonathan Rosum 2-1. Humans will take care of Jeskai Control. And for Sam Cocchiarella and his first tournament playing Humans, he is your winner and your champion here in Minneapolis.
Not a bad first tournament coming in and winning a 790-person Modern Open. You can see the Lodestone Game Show we were calling over here. A lot of his friends watching